When my fiancée admitted she chose him over me, I stepped back without resistance. I let the decision stand. Time did the rest, and the outcome wasn't what she imagined when she made that choice. I need you to understand something. When he asked me to choose, I chose him. The words hung in the air between us like smoke after a gunshot. I was 29, engaged for 8 months, and standing in our shared apartment watching my fiancée tell me she'd already made her decision. The him she was talking about was Daniel, her ex from college. The one she swore was just a friend when they reconnected 6 months ago. Okay, I said. Just that. Nothing else. Her eyes widened slightly, like she'd been bracing for an explosion that never came. That's it? Melissa asked. That's all you have to say? I looked at the engagement ring still on her finger, then back at her face. What do you want me to say? I asked quietly. You made your choice. I'm respecting it. She blinked rapidly, and I could see confusion replacing whatever emotion had been there before. I thought you'd fight for me, she said, and her voice cracked on the last word. You can't fight for someone who's already chosen to leave, I replied. That's not fighting. That's begging. I walked to the bedroom and pulled my duffel bag from the closet. Wait, what are you doing? Melissa followed me, her voice rising with each word. I'm giving you what you want, I said, folding a shirt and placing it in the bag. You chose him, so I'm removing myself from the equation. I didn't say I wanted you to leave right now, she protested. We need to talk about this. Figure things out. I paused and turned to face her fully. There's nothing to figure out, Mel. You told me you chose him. Those words can't be unsaid. They shouldn't be unsaid. Her hands were shaking now. But I'm confused, she admitted. I don't know what I want. Yes, you do, I said calmly. You knew enough to tell him you chose him. You knew enough to tell me about it. What you want now is to keep me as a backup plan while you see if things work out with Daniel. That's not fair, she whispered. Maybe not, I agreed. But it's honest. I continued packing. She stood in the doorway watching me, and I could feel her stare like physical pressure against my back. Where will you go? She asked after a long silence. My brother has a spare room. I'll figure the rest out later. And us? The engagement. I stopped packing and looked at the woman I'd planned to marry. Really looked at her. The face I'd kissed 1,000 times now seemed like a stranger's. There is no us anymore, Melissa. You ended that when you chose him. I didn't break up with you, she said, voice sharp with sudden defensiveness. I was being honest about my feelings. And I appreciate the honesty, I said. I really do. But honesty doesn't erase consequences. I zipped the bag and slung it over my shoulder. She grabbed my arm as I passed. Please don't do this, Melissa said, and now there were actual tears. I made a mistake telling you. I was confused. I still love you. I believe you, I said gently, removing her hand from my arm. But you love him too. And you chose him. I'm not interested in being someone's second choice or their safety net. It's not like that. It's exactly like that, I interrupted. And we both know it. I walked to the door. Keep the apartment, I said without turning around. I'll have someone pick up the rest of my stuff next week. We can figure out the lease later. What about the wedding? She called after me. I paused with my hand on the doorknob. There isn't going to be a wedding, Mel. You know that. I left without looking back. The drive to my brother's place was a blur of streetlights and the sound of my own breathing. My phone started buzzing before I made it 5 blocks. Melissa calling. I declined it. She called again. Declined again. By the 3rd call, I turned the phone off completely. My brother Trevor opened his door looking confused and concerned. What happened? He asked, taking in my duffel bag and probably whatever expression was on my face. I need that spare room you mentioned last month, I said. He stepped aside without another word. I told him everything while we sat in his kitchen drinking beer I didn't really taste. Trevor listened without interrupting, which was unusual for him. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. You're really done? He finally asked. Completely. No part of you wants to fight for her. I thought about it honestly before answering. The woman I wanted to marry wouldn't have put me in this position, I said. The woman sitting in that apartment right now? I don't know who that is anymore. Trevor nodded slowly. For what it's worth, he said, I think you did the right thing. Self-respect matters. I slept terribly that first night. Not because I regretted leaving, but because 8 months of planning a future doesn't disappear in one evening, no matter how definitively it ends. I turned my phone back on the next morning to 43 text messages and 12 missed calls. All from Melissa. I read through them in chronological order. They started angry. You're being childish. We could have worked through this if you weren't so dramatic. I can't believe you just abandoned me. Then they shifted to pleading. Please come back so we can talk. I made a mistake. I choose you. I love you. Isn't that enough? The most recent ones were different. Daniel and I are going to try to make things work. I hope you're happy. You'll regret throwing away what we had. Don't bother reaching out. I'm moving on. I deleted all of them and blocked her number. Then I called my boss and asked if that position in the Portland office was still available. It was. I accepted it on the spot. 3 weeks later, I was living in a new city with a new routine and exactly zero connection to my old life. I threw myself into work with the kind of focus that comes from having nothing else to think about. My colleagues probably thought I was ambitious. Really, I was just trying to survive each day without dwelling on the ghost of a future that no longer existed. Trevor called me every few days to check in. "You doing okay?" he'd ask. "Yeah, I'd say." And eventually, it stopped being a lie. 2 months after I left, Trevor called with actual news instead of a wellness check. "You're not going to believe this," he said. I could hear something like schadenfreude in his voice. "Melissa and Daniel broke up." I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication, no secret pleasure. Just nothing. "Okay," I said. "That's it. Just okay. What else is there to say?" "She's been asking about you," Trevor continued. "She called Mom trying to get your new number." "Did Mom give it to her?" "Of course not. But Melissa's apparently devastated. Says breaking up with you was the biggest mistake of her life." I was quiet. "You're not even a little bit interested?" Trevor pressed. "In what? Being someone's second choice again after her first choice didn't work out?" "No, I'm not interested." "Fair enough," he said. "Just thought you should know. Thanks for the heads up." I meant it. Not because the information changed anything, but because Trevor was looking out for me, and that mattered. 3 months became 6 months. I started dating someone I met at a work conference. Nothing serious, just coffee and conversation with someone who didn't know my history. It felt lighter than anything I'd experienced with Melissa in the last year of our relationship. That's when I started to realize something I'd been too close to see before. The relationship had been dying long before Daniel came back into the picture. I'd just been too invested in the idea of our future to notice. The late nights when Melissa seemed more interested in her phone than talking to me. The arguments that started over nothing and escalated into everything. The way physical intimacy had become obligatory rather than natural. Daniel wasn't the cause. He was just the symptom that finally made the disease visible. On what would have been our first wedding anniversary if we'd actually gotten married, I went for a long run through Portland's Forest Park. The rain was coming down steady and cold. I ran until my legs burned and my lungs screamed. And somewhere around mile 7, I realized I was grateful. Grateful she'd been honest, even if it destroyed us. Grateful I'd left instead of fighting for scraps of affection. Grateful for the pain that had forced me to rebuild myself into someone stronger. I got back to my apartment and found a message from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I checked it. "This is Melissa. I got your number from your work directory. Please don't be mad. I need to talk to you. It's important." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I deleted it without responding. She tried 2 more times over the next week. I never answered. Some doors, once closed, should stay that way. My brother called again a month later. "She showed up at Mom and Dad's house," he said. "Looking for me?" "Yeah." She was a mess, apparently. Crying. Saying she needed to apologize to you in person. "What did Mom say?" "That you'd moved on with your life and she needed to do the same." I smiled despite myself. Mom always did have good instincts. "Melissa asked if you were seeing anyone," Trevor added, voice careful. "And Mom told her that was none of her business." I like Mom's style. Trevor laughed, but then his voice got serious. "Are you seeing anyone?" Casually, I admitted. "Nothing serious yet. I'm not in a hurry." "Good," he said. "You've got time. Don't rush into anything just to fill the space she left." It was good advice. I took it. 8 months after I left that apartment, I got promoted to regional director. It came with a significant raise and a corner office with a view of Mount Hood. I celebrated by buying myself a good bottle of scotch and drinking it alone while watching the sunset paint the mountain pink and gold. It was one of the most peaceful moments of my life. No drama, no complications, no wondering if the person I loved was thinking about someone else. Just me, my accomplishments, and a future I was building entirely on my own terms. My phone rang. Unknown number, but with a local area code from my old city. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Hello." "Hey." Melissa's voice, smaller than I remembered. "Please don't hang up." I considered it, but curiosity won out. "I'm listening." "I'm sorry," she said, and I could hear her crying. "I'm so sorry for everything I put you through." "Okay. Is that all you're going to say? Just okay. The irony wasn't lost on me. That's exactly what she'd said when I accepted her choice without fighting. What do you want me to say, Mel? I don't know. Something. Anything. You were so angry when you left. I wasn't angry, I interrupted. I was disappointed. There's a difference. I made the worst mistake of my life, she continued, words tumbling out fast like she was afraid I'd hang up. Daniel and I barely lasted 2 months. He was exactly who you probably thought he was. Selfish, immature, more interested in the idea of me than the reality. I'm sorry that happened. I meant it. I didn't wish pain on her, even now. I've been in therapy, she said, trying to understand why I sabotaged the best thing in my life. My therapist says I have commitment issues stemming from my parents' divorce. That's good, I said. Self-awareness is important. I want another chance, Melissa said quietly. I know I don't deserve it. I know I hurt you terribly. But I've changed. I've grown. I understand now what I threw away. I looked out at Mount Hood, still visible in the fading light. I'm glad you're doing the work to better yourself, I said carefully. Genuinely. But there's no going back, Mel. That door is closed. Why? She demanded. And now there was desperation in her voice. Because I made one mistake? People make mistakes. People deserve second chances. It wasn't one mistake, I said. It was a choice. You chose him. You told me you chose him. And I respected that choice by removing myself from the situation. But I was wrong. Maybe, I agreed. But that doesn't change anything. You showed me who you were in that moment. You showed me that when things got complicated, when you had to make a hard decision, you chose someone else. People grow, she insisted. I'm not the same person I was. I believe you, I said. And I hope you find happiness with someone who meets this new version of you. But that someone isn't going to be me. Silence on the other end. Then, quietly, you've moved on. I have. Is there someone else? That's not why I can't go back, I said. I could be completely single, and my answer would be the same. What we had is over. It's been over since the moment you chose him. I'll never forgive myself, she whispered. Don't carry that, I said, and I meant it. Forgive yourself. Learn from it. Do better in your next relationship. But let me go, Mel. Really let me go. I love you. I loved you too, I said. Past tense. And that's okay. People can love each other and still not be right for each other. I heard her breath hitch. This is really goodbye, isn't it? Yeah, I said gently. It is. I hope you're happy, she said. And for the first time in the conversation, she sounded sincere rather than desperate. I really do. You deserved better than what I gave you. Thank you for saying that. Goodbye, she whispered. Goodbye, Melissa. I hung up and blocked the number. Then I poured another glass of scotch and watched the last of the light fade from the mountain. The next morning, I woke up feeling lighter than I had in months. There was something final about that conversation. A door not just closed but locked and sealed. I could move forward now without wondering if there were loose ends behind me. Work became more than just a distraction. It became something I genuinely enjoyed. I built a team, mentored younger employees, turned around underperforming accounts. I started rock climbing at a local gym and discovered I was pretty good at it. Made friends who knew me only as the person I was now, not the person I'd been before. On weekends, I explored the Pacific Northwest, hiked mountains, kayaked rivers, drove the coast with no destination in mind. I was building a life. Not the life I'd planned with Melissa, but a life that was entirely mine. A year and a half after I left, I met someone at a friend's housewarming party. Her name was Alexandra, and she worked as a veterinarian. We talked for 3 hours about everything and nothing. She made me laugh in a way I hadn't laughed in years. When she gave me her number, I didn't overthink it. I just texted her the next day and asked her to dinner. Dinner turned into a second date. Second date turned into a third. By the 6th date, I realized I was falling for her. And it didn't feel complicated or fraught or like I was competing with ghosts. It just felt right. Alexandra knew about Melissa. I told her everything on our 4th date because I didn't want any secrets between us. She listened without judgment. That must have been incredibly painful, she said when I finished. It was, I admitted. But I'm grateful for it now. It taught me what I won't accept in a relationship, which is being someone's backup plan, being chosen second, staying in something that's already broken just because we've invested time in it. She nodded thoughtfully. For what it's worth, Alexandra said, you'll never be my second choice. 6 months after that, I proposed to her on a cliff overlooking the ocean. She said yes before I even finished asking the question. We got married in a small ceremony with close friends and family. Trevor was my best man. During his toast, He said something that stuck with me. 2 years ago, my brother went through hell, he said. He could have become bitter. He could have fought for someone who didn't deserve him. Instead, he chose himself. He chose his dignity. And because of that choice, he's standing here today with someone who chooses him every single day. Everyone raised their glasses. I looked at Alexandra, and she was already looking at me. No doubt, no hesitation, no competing with ghosts. Just certainty. My phone buzzed in my pocket during the reception. Unknown number. I ignored it. Later, when Alexandra and I were alone, I checked it out of curiosity. I heard you got married. I hope you're happy. I'm sorry for everything. Take care. Melissa. I showed Alexandra the message. Do you want to respond? She asked. No, I said. That chapter is closed. I deleted the message and put my phone away. Alexandra pulled me onto the dance floor. No more looking back, she said. No more looking back, I agreed. We danced until my feet hurt and my face ached from smiling. Somewhere in the middle of the reception, my mom pulled me aside. I'm proud of you, she said. For what? For knowing when to walk away. For not settling. For finding someone who deserves you. I hugged her tight. Thanks, Mom. She reached out to me. You know, Mom continued. Melissa, about 6 months ago, she wanted to know if there was any chance you'd talk to her. What did you tell her? I told her you'd found someone who never made you question your worth, and that she needed to find peace with her choices. I smiled. You're the best. I know, she said, patting my cheek. Now get back to your wife. She's looking for you. Wife. The word still felt new and wonderful. I found Alexandra talking with some friends, laughing at something someone said. She saw me, and her whole face lit up. That's when I knew for certain. I'd made the right choice. Not in leaving Melissa, though that was necessary, but in refusing to settle for being someone's second choice. In demanding better for myself even when it hurt. In building a life instead of clinging to the wreckage of what could have been. 2.5 years after Melissa told me she chose Daniel, I was dancing with my wife at our wedding reception. Surrounded by people who loved us, looking forward to a future built on certainty rather than doubt. And I didn't think about Melissa at all. Not with bitterness, not with satisfaction, not with anything. She was simply a chapter in my story that had ended exactly when it needed to. The rest of my story was just beginning. And it was going to be incredible, because I'd chosen myself when it mattered most. And that choice had made all the difference.